Yes. Dave, so 22 years with Meltdown.
Yes.
Okay, so how did it all begin? How did it all start?
Supposed to be a one-off conference, and it came about because we started touring Christian heavy rock bands from the United States, and the gigs were at that time really successful gigs due to the fact that Word Records had something called the White Metal Club, so there was an awful lot of people who were receiving regular mail outs and being told about the American hard rock bands, and so when we actually started to tour them, there was a decent audience for them. Yeah. And we sort of found that the kids who were receiving Christ at the concerts had nowhere to go because the churches were rejecting them because of the length of their hair, the clothes they were wearing, the music they were listening to. And we had this crazy idea, well, what about a one-off conference where we can get together for a weekend and just sort of chill out over the weekend together. And that conference was a great success. It was actually held at a conference centre called the Gaines in Worcester.
Fantastic.
And it held 50 people and the place rammed. It was full. And from that conference, a second one was inevitable. I think we did 2 years at the Gaines, and then we moved to the Quinta Centre, where we were there for 18, 19 years.
Wow,
yeah.
Fantastic.
And so, what was supposed to be a one-off turned into an annual event.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, jump!
Meltdown is like I said, once a year event, annual event, and it's a Christian rock metal weekend away. So we have bands playing. The nice thing about Meltdown is you can interact as much or as little as you want. So you can get involved with things like seminars, which obviously sort of have Christian teaching. There's loads of communion in the Saturday morning. But like I said, nothing is compulsory. You can come to as much as you want, or as little as you want. But we have bands that play on all 3 days, on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Friday and Saturday are all unsigned. Some of them are signed actually. Unsigned or signed bands. In various types of genres of music. We've got pop punk, we've got death metal, we've got hardcore. Basically, it's a weekend away for anybody who loves alternative style music, hardcore, metal, pop punk, that kind of stuff.
One of the last remaining families following God has now turned over to idolatry. It's not looking too good. The future looks pretty bleak for humanity. And this is confirmed in Joshua 24. Like Joshua 24 actually spells it out. He says, Nahor, Abraham, Terah had forsaken God, had gone off to worship other gods.
Cool, my name's Verity. I'm from London. And I went to Meltdown last year for the first time. And it's especially interesting being in sort of the alternative scene. There isn't much out there that's kind of Christian as well, so it was really interesting to see a bunch of people together kind of worshipping God and being alternative at the same time.
So other than the actual retreat weekend itself that happens once a year, Meltdown is involved in a number of other things. We also hold In Tune conference where we give teaching to bands and musicians and anyone who wants to start a band or start some sort of ministry. In fact, it doesn't even have to be a band. It can be like a sound engineer, owner of a record label, a touring agent, anything like that. Anyone who feels that their calling in the music industry is directly related to ministry work. So, like I said, we've got bands that came to the last In Tune conference. We got all sorts of people who aren't musicians or don't directly play music, but they're involved in the music movement and the Christian music movement.
The In Tune conference is the...
We have the In Tune conference, we have the Meltdown stage at Greenbelt,
Yes.
and we have Detonation magazine.
Yeah. So what was the motivation for In Tune?
Working with lousy bands. No, to be honest. You know.
So that's something that Dave never even considered before God asked him to do it. In most cases, though, not all, most, when we believe God is giving a calling on our lives in a specific way, we can see some sort of end result.
Doesn't mean, oh, God's always going to use you to be a pastor or to be an evangelist. Sometimes it's just the opposite. Because if you're really gifted in that area, you might start taking credit for it. Even though we know that all gifts are from God above. I believe Christian and non-Christian, all these great gifts.
Yeah. So Christian music, especially Christian hardcore, Christian metal, Christian rock, that kind of stuff, it sometimes gets a bit of a bad rap because it's, at the end of the day, it is really just music. Bands like For Today and Sleeping Giant and those kind of bands, the more hardcore bands, they're the ones that are making waves right now over in America, and over here it's just starting to take off in the sense of people starting to be a little less be more fearless and stand up and say, you know what, like, this is our faith and this is how we live it, and we're not doing it to ram it down your throats, but we're doing it so that we can love you and so you can actually understand more about Jesus, and then you can take that and leave it however you want. You know, that message is there, the option's there, you can take it or leave it. And so that's like I said, one of the main reasons now that Meltdown is doing what it's doing. It's not just as a safe haven for people who feel outcast to come to, but it's also there to outreach to people, and that's what Christian music's all about.
I think there are more and more people in the alternative scene that are Christian, and I think Meltdown is so individual and kind of there's nothing else like it, and it really draws people together in an amazing community. I think people can find like-minded people that they can share their like kind of likes in music and culture with, but also their faith as well. And I think that Meltdown will kind of I can see it getting much bigger and spreading with kind of people, word of mouth, of people that are in the scene who are also Christian. Yeah.
Personally, I'd like to see Meltdown develop as a conference and to pull more people in, and it will help other Christian bands in this country to develop as well. And so Meltdown will really be a great way for those bands to be, like once a year, to be sort of, nourished and kind of filled up and stuff and inspired to go out and to play their music.